So these days, I'm certain you've heard me say non-native EMFs are everywhere. They're just a ubiquitous part of our modern society. These are non-native electromagnetic fields or frequencies that are being emitted by things like our wireless routers, cell phones, any form of Bluetooth or smart technology. There's cell phone towers everywhere. There's satellites from outer space that are beaming wireless radiation onto the planet. So I mean, this is just the planet that we live in. And I would say about, let's say, well, 10 years ago now or so, as I started to dive more deeply into non-native EMFs and their effects on human health, I became quite alarmed. I realized that exposure to non-native EMFs can drive massive mitochondrial dysfunction. They can really just create a derangement in the cells, basically oxidative stress to the max. So let me really highlight this for you as a clinician, because you might see this in some of your clients. Martin Pall would be the lead researcher who's really laid out this pathway that I actually believe I've seen in clinical practice as well. And so the pathway that he showed is that when cells are exposed to non-native electromagnetic fields, calcium channels on the outsides of the cells open aggressively. Basically, they open constitutively, meaning they're open all the time. And that allows a lot of calcium in the extracellular space to flood into the intracellular space. Now, over time, that's essentially a recipe for completely draining the cell of its healthy negative charge, but also driving mitochondrial dysfunction. Because when too much calcium gets into the cell, the mitochondria have to start sequestering it. And when mitochondria have to resort to sequestering calcium, they are not efficient at flowing electrons and making water and ATP. So that's kind of the short story of it. And what calcium is designed to do, the reason why we have those channels in the first place, is calcium is designed to be something called a second messenger, meaning we're designed to pulse little waves of calcium into the cell that stimulates a process. So basically that pulse of calcium will initiate a cascade of processes to take place. We're not designed to have these non-native EMFs open these calcium channels for extended periods of time. And so you can see how, depending on the organs that are getting most affected by the wireless radiation and the mitochondrial damage, that's where you're going to see people express symptoms. So in certain clients who worked with a laptop their whole life, it could be gastrointestinal symptoms or heart symptoms. For clients who have utilized wireless technology through the ears, it could be neurological. It could be even just the general presence of non-native EMFs could affect all organ systems of the body. And so again, 10 years ago, I was like, holy cow, this is wild how much radiation we're being exposed to, more than ever before. And a really great book to get you or friends or family members kind of on board with understanding this is one called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg. It was the first book that I read on this topic. There's some other great ones as well by Andrew Marino and Robert O. Becker. I mean, there's some phenomenal books that you can read. Going Somewhere by Andrew Marino is another great one. So anyways, we got all these non-native EMFs and they're affecting us, and they have the potential to cause mitochondrial dysfunction and ultimately harm our health. And so flashback 10 years, I thought, I got to shield myself from all of this, right? I got to basically put myself into a Faraday cage, and I got to do something to protect myself. And so that's when I started going down the pathway of shielding paint, shielding fabrics, shielding the floor. What is that like? Shielding myself. And then I realized, number one, that didn't feel like a really nice way to live, fearing something so much that I want to completely shield myself from it. And number two, I thought there has to be a detriment to shielding myself, because when you shield yourself from non-native EMFs, you also shield yourself, or can shield yourself, from healthful electromagnetic fields like the Shumann resonance, like Earth's gentle pulse. We need those signals. Those are signals that sync up our brain waves to our breath rate, to our heart rate rhythm, that dictates the status of our autonomic nervous system. So there's so much about the healthy EMFs that we want to make sure we're connecting to. So that's when I would say maybe now, after going down that rabbit hole, about 3 years ago now, I opened my brain to the idea of, if what we're dealing with are these non-native waves of energy, maybe there's a way, maybe someone has figured out a way to harmonize them or make them less biologically negatively impactful. And so that got me into studying biogeometry. It got me into studying with Dr. Robert J. Gilbert at the Vesica Institute, various courses. And it got me into understanding, I just basically was playing around with a crystal. Yes, a crystal that I found through Dr. Gilbert's work, that he's highlighted a lot through the courses that I've taken, called indigo gabbro. Indigo gabbro is a stone that's specifically the one that I'm talking about that has the properties that I'm going to discuss. I only get through the Vesica Institute, and it only comes from Madagascar. But this particular stone has what are considered adaptogenic qualities. And that intrigued me because I believe that the body is really well designed to be exposed to various adaptogens, because those adaptogens just work with the innate intelligence of the human body. I consider molecular hydrogen to be an adaptogenic molecule. And so this really intrigued me. And so I thought to myself, I had heard that one of the qualities of this particular stone was that it could transmute detrimental energies. And I thought, well, non-native EMFs are detrimental energies. Is it possible that something like this can pull in or harmonize the negative energies? And not only that, but this quality can not only pulls in essentially the negative energies, but it transmutes it into a beneficial energy, one that through the lens of biogeometry would be called BG3, or through the lens of maybe what Dr. Gilbert was teaching would be called, in courses like your personal wavelength, would be called the centering vibration. But it's just this high quality energetic vibration associated with bringing the body back into center and harmony, homeostasis, right? And so I got a couple of these stones, right? I got little palm stones, I got bigger ones. And I thought, well, the part of the reason why I finally got one was I had a means to test this. You cannot test harmonization of electromagnetic fields with a meter, right? So if I were to get my tri-field meter out right now, and take my cell phone off of airplane mode, which I'm actually going to do right now to be able to show you what's going on with this indigo gabbro. But if I were to take a meter out and read the radiation coming from my cell phone and show it to a certain degree, and then if I were to put this, let's say, on top of the cell phone, the amount of radiation being measured by the meter would not change. I had to develop a more subtle way to detect energetic fields. And I did that through studying at the Vesica Institute with Robert Gilbert, specifically courses on wavelength, finding your personal wavelength or the wavelength of others. Now, I'm not going to give away that technique. I do believe you need to learn that extensively through his teachings. But what I was able to do was figure out how to calibrate a neutral pendulum to find essentially how the energy quality of someone's biofield. And so I can do that with myself right now pretty easily. And as soon as I find my biofield, the pendulum will spin clockwise. Anything that slows the spin or anything that increases the spin will tell me something about how it affects the energy in my biofield. And because my biofield, the energy in my biofield is a direct indicator of the status of my physical body's health, that's how I could see how potentially something like such as non-native EMFs could create harm for my physical body and what things might harmonize it. So currently you might be able to tell I've got the indigo gabbro on my lap, and it's very much a beautiful energetic stone. So I'm going to take it off my lap. And I'm going to, now I can maintain this spin here, right? So this spin's going to maintain. It's going to be a little bit slower than typically than what you saw with the indigo gabbro. But now I want to show you if this pendulum at all spins in the opposite direction or weakens in spin when I pick up my cell phone, you're going to see, especially if I hold it to my head, you're going to see that's showing me right now, it reversed spin. So what that shows me is that this is creating an energetic basically it's creating detrimental energies or disharmonious energies in my biofield. So then what I could do is I could put this down and observe any changes to my biofield. If that happens, and it's going to start to build back, right? Because now all of a sudden the threat to my biofield is gone. So I thought, well, let me test this with indigo gabbro. Like, let me see if I can pull use indigo gabbro and see if it has a harmonizing quality. So what I did was I've tested this on dozens of people now, not just myself. So I've got my cell phone. We'll hold it on my physical body. Again, I don't recommend doing this, but I'm going to keep this close by. I'm going to get my energy field, which is good. Yeah, look at right away. It automatically goes into the reverse spin, really saying that is not helpful to your energy field, Carrie. But then I'm going to pull up this. I'm going to hold indigo gabbro in my hand. And I guess let me turn it. I guess I can just hold my hand right here and you'll start to see. And again, I know if you've never used neutral pendulum testing, this is going to look so woo and whack. And so if this isn't for you or it's not your modality, that's okay. It doesn't have to be your modality. But I have found this a really great way. It's very much has very much qualities like applied kinesiology, but it also can be done at a distance. So it's been very helpful in clinical practice. And what you see now is, in spite of having that cell phone in my energy field is staying pretty strong. Not as strong as when I had just the Indigo Gabbro in my lap, which I'll do right now. I'm a cell phone out. That created just a really, really vibrant energy field. So you should be able to see that pendulum. It just feels like it's spinning super fast in my fingers. So this led me again to test this Indigo Gabbro when I realized that I could test people's energy fields and how their energy fields were detrimentally affected by things like their cell phone, and how then what we could do to harmonize their energy field or bring better energetic qualities to their energy field in spite of the presence of non-native EMFs. I was really sold on this Indigo Gabbro because, again, I've literally taken this to dentist's office and just randomly tested people who are open-minded. I've tested it on so many friends, so many family members, parents at my kids' school who are open-minded. And I found time and time again that this stone will transform someone's energy field from losing energy, essentially spinning counterclockwise, in spite of, like, let's say they've got a cell phone on their body, to spinning clockwise. Now, that doesn't mean that I think that these individuals should use their cell phone on their physical body all the time. Like, for example, I still would never wear AirPods, in spite of the fact that this can have a harmonizing quality to it. But it's nice to know that we can carry something or have something in our presence that allows us the harmonizing quality to harmonize the non-native EMFs in our environment. So I have people, I've had clients put these in their purses or in their pockets. You can get bracelets made out of them. And time again, not only me, but since I've introduced this to my private community, I've had dozens of them purchase this and energetically test it as well and find benefits to it. Individuals who are highly electrohypersensitive, no longer get this feeling of buzzing or tingling or zapping in their body in the presence of cell phone radiation. Energetically, people who can read energies can totally tell that this has such a beautiful way to not only transmute the detrimental, but then amplify that beautiful centering quality, that centering vibration. So again, I still want clients to make sure that they are aware of their usage of non-native EMFs. Where is it located in terms of the proximity to your body? What duration are you using it for? But if you absolutely cannot get away from certain electromagnetic fields while on an airplane, or around a bunch of wireless radiation, or whatever the situation might be, I found it extremely beneficial to have Indigo Gabbro being brought to my awareness, because it does have such a beautiful harmonizing quality in so many situations. So again, the place that you learn more about this is through the Vesica Institute. There are multiple courses you can take regarding specifically stones like Indigo Gabbro, and also that energetic testing method that I showed there. Again, so I really encourage you, if you're interested, to explore that beautiful adaptogenic stone for its ability to do this amazing, for its ability to transmute the negative and amplify this glorious centering vibration, which I really truly think helps everyone bring their body back into just natural rhythm and homeostasis.